You want to know how 159,600 under in stolen wages sounds when it hits a conference room table? Like the quietest bomb you ever heard. I knew something was wrong the moment Scott Barnes laughed into the microphone and said my job title like it was a punchline. He was halfway through his quarterly operations update, standing on that little stage in the break room, like he was delivering a TED Talk instead of gutting half the company. My name is Roy Palmer. I'm 47 years old, and I've been managing IT infrastructure at TechFlow Solutions for 19 years. I've seen plenty of new managers come and go, but Scott was different. He had his sleeves rolled up like he'd been wrestling numbers instead of people, holding a printed chart in one hand. My chart, actually. I recognized the formatting because I built that dataset myself. We found areas where optimization wasn't just possible, it was overdue, he said, grinning at the crowd of tired faces. A few nervous chuckles from the newer hires who still believed in performance reviews and casual Fridays. Then Scott held up a slide with my department's budget breakdown. Senior IT infrastructure oversight, $4,200 monthly retention. He looked directly at me. I mean, isn't $4,200 a month enough? That's when I felt it. Something cold settling in my chest. I didn't blink. I stood up slowly, calmly. I wouldn't know, sir, I said loud enough to reach the back of the room. What money? The silence that followed, you could have heard a server fan die. Scott froze. He wasn't expecting me to talk back. He definitely wasn't expecting the voice recorder in my pocket or the flash drive I pulled from my bag and placed gently on the coffee station counter. Payment logs, I said, 38 months of retention payments I never received. All approved, all routed, just never landed. Someone near the refrigerator whispered, "Oh my God, you have to understand. Nobody noticed me at TechFlow." That's the thing about doing your job perfectly for 19 years. You don't get credit, you get invisibility. I managed legacy system migrations, compliance audits, security protocols, and vendor renewals. I was the reason our cloud infrastructure didn't collapse during the 2022 cyber breach. I was the reason 3 major clients stayed with us through 2 regulatory changes. But when Scott came on board 8 months ago, none of that mattered. He wanted dashboards and metrics and streamlined headcount. He looked at me and saw overhead, an expensive legacy employee who didn't fit his startup playbook. He never bothered to learn what I actually did, just saw a line item with my employee ID and assumed I was dead weight. The thing is, Scott had never read my contract. Not really. He didn't know that after the 2022 security breach, I'd been offered a position at a cybersecurity firm with better pay and stock options. TechFlow begged me to stay. Glenn Cooper, our CEO, personally negotiated the deal, matched the competitor's offer through a structured retention clause. $4,200 monthly, separate from my regular salary, logged as senior infrastructure retention incentive. Clause 8.4b was crystal clear. $4,200 monthly tagged separately from base pay, routed through internal retention accounting, CEO signed, HR approved, legal reviewed. I had the PDF, the email chain, even the time-stamped signature pages, but the money never came. At first, I thought it was a processing delay. Then we got a new controller. Then finance restructured their whole department. I got buried in work, 2 major migrations, a compliance audit, training Scott's new hires who kept breaking things I'd spent years building. The missing payments became background noise. I was tired, focused on keeping systems running, and frankly, I didn't want the hassle of chasing down paperwork. That was my mistake. What I didn't realize was that Scott had been digging through internal budget reports for months, looking for cuts he could claim credit for. He'd been flashing spreadsheets in meetings, highlighted rows with angry red notes, asking how much are we paying for what, loud enough for everyone to hear. I saw fragments of those reports when I walked past conference room 3B to refill my coffee. There it was in the corner of a printout. My employee ID and $4,200 legacy infrastructure retention, monthly recurring. According to Scott's budget analysis, I was costing the company an extra $50,400 per year for what he called redundant oversight. Except I wasn't getting that money. My paycheck showed regular salary, standard benefits, nothing else. But somewhere in the system, $4,200 was disappearing every month. And Scott thought he was being clever by calling me out publicly for it. A young analyst from his team, one of the kids he'd brought over from his previous startup, cornered me by the elevator one day. "Hey Roy, just a heads up. Your cost profile is getting flagged in the efficiency review. Something about being a monthly budget drain for legacy maintenance. Budget drain. Like I was some broken pipe leaking money behind the walls. That's when I pulled out the old files from 2022. My personal copies of the retention agreement, the counteroffer from the cybersecurity firm, Glenn Cooper's signature, legal department approval. Everything documented, time-stamped, filed away in my home office because 19 years in IT teaches you to keep backups of everything. The retention clause wasn't buried in fine print. It was right there in Appendix C, bolded and initialed. The language was direct. Should any retention disbursement be delayed or misallocated, the firm shall owe adjusted interest and legal penalties for every 30-day period lapsed. I had 38 lapses, 38 months where the payment should have hit my account but didn't. 38 times Scott's department had processed a $4,200 transfer that went somewhere other than my paycheck. After Scott's little performance in the break room, I got a calendar invite from legal within 2 hours. No subject line, just a Zoom link and 3 attorneys waiting for me at 4:15 p.m. Linda Foster from HR was there too, along with Susan Murphy from the legal team and a payroll director whose screen was clearly being monitored by someone she couldn't ask to leave. The questions came fast. Are you certain the disbursements never reached your account? Have you been paid through any alternative channel? Was there ever a renegotiation of the clause? No, absolutely not. Never. I shared the PDF with the digital certificate and timestamps. Legal went quiet for 5 minutes while someone scrolled through the documentation. Did payroll ever confirm the start of disbursement? Susan Murphy finally asked. I almost laughed. They didn't. But according to Scott's own budget sheets, the ones he was reading from this morning, finance shows $4,200 leaving the operations ledger every month for 38 months. So the money went somewhere, just not to me, and that's when the real investigation began. Payroll said it was a finance error. Finance said it was an operations directive. Operations went silent. Scott had already disappeared from the Slack channel and stopped responding to direct messages. His assistant mentioned something about a doctor's appointment and wouldn't be back until Monday. Sure. Meanwhile, I had timestamps for every month, documented absence of deposits on my end, clear dispersal records on their side. And that retention clause wasn't just a contractual obligation. It was a legal trap that activated after 60 days, escalated after 180 days, and entered breach territory after 24 months. At 38 months, we were in radioactive territory. The clause specified adjusted interest calculated at prime plus 6%, compounding monthly, penalties for misallocation, legal fees. The total due had ballooned to $186,000 and climbing daily. By the end of that first day, they'd looped an internal audit, initially just 2 people from compliance, but within hours it became half the legal department, a forensic accountant, and someone from IT security who looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Because the money wasn't missing, it had been rerouted. System logs showed that my $4,200 retention payment was never sent to payroll. Instead, it was automatically diverted every month into an internal ledger labeled Ops, Discretionary, Leadership Initiative, a dormant account that technically still existed in the system but hadn't been used for legitimate purposes in years. Every one of those 38 diversions was digitally signed by Scott Barnes. His authorization appeared beside every entry like he was endorsing checks from someone else's account. The memo line read efficiency optimization. In plain English, Scott had been stealing my retention payments for over 3 years, bundling them into what he described internally as a discretionary fund for operational flexibility. Money he could shift around to make his department look more profitable, his cost-cutting initiatives more impressive, his management more effective. The word nobody wanted to say sat heavy in every subsequent meeting: fraud. Not a mistake, not a clerical error, not a misunderstanding. Deliberate, systematic theft hidden under enough bureaucratic language to keep people from asking questions. Until it landed in the wrong person's inbox. Mine. By 11:30 the next morning, HR issued a statement. Scott Barnes was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. His office was sealed with security tape. IT protocol, though I doubt Scott could tell the difference between that and law enforcement anymore. Linda Foster walked past my desk, stopped, and gave me a look I'll never forget. Not pity, not apology, recognition. Like she was seeing me clearly for the first time in 19 years. The retention clause had a fuse built into it, 14 business days from acknowledgement to resolution. Once any company officer formally acknowledged the discrepancy, TechFlow had exactly 2 weeks to cure the default completely or face escalated penalties, including potential class action exposure. Legal acknowledged it on day 1 with their "we'll look into this" email. By day 3, I had an email from Susan Murphy herself, not a paralegal, not a junior associate, but the general counsel. Her tone was professionally urgent. "We would like to explore resolution pathways. Please advise on your expectations." My expectations were simple. 100 plus accrued interest, immediate correction of all misallocated funds, written reclassification of my employment status, and a full audit confirming Scott's unauthorized use of company resources. In writing, no handshake deals, no verbal promises. On day 5, HR called asking if I'd consider off-the-record reconciliation. I wasn't interested in off-the-record anything. By day 6, I wasn't alone anymore. 3 other senior employees, 2 from R&D, 1 from cyber operations, reached out separately. I heard what happened. One said, "You might want to see this." They handed over emails with the subject line, "Retention Trigger Confirmation, Barnes Approval Required." Each of them had been offered structured retention packages after the 2022 breach, all tied to the same internal account code, all routed through Scott's discretionary ledger, and none of them had seen $1. Different departments, same clause, same vanishing funds. Wade Stevens from R&D had been promised $3,800 monthly. Keith Murphy from CyberOps was supposed to get $4,100 from Systems Architecture, never saw his $3,600. We filed as a consolidated group on day 7. The moment our joint notice hit their inbox, everything changed. Outside counsel was brought in. The board canceled 2 upcoming investor presentations. Scott's name was quietly removed from 3 industry conference panels. The math was ugly now. 4 senior employees, 38 months each. Retention payments ranging from $3,600 to $4,200 in total base amount, $589,200, with compounded interest and penalties, $762,000. Add legal fees and punitive damages for systematic fraud, over $900,000 exposure. On day 10, an emergency board session was called. Camera off, NDA required, attendance mandatory. I wasn't in the room, but I know how those meetings work. Nobody talks until the money gets named. When our consolidated claim showed $762,000 in direct damages plus penalties and legal fees pushing toward $1 million exposure, I imagine the silence was deafening. Scott had gone from efficiency expert to liability nightmare in less than 2 weeks. On day 13, they folded. The offer came through Susan Murphy. Full payment, not a cent negotiated down. Original retention balance plus compounded interest, legal fees covered, signing bonuses reinstated, and the part that made my attorney raise an eyebrow, reclassification of our departures as executive transition consulting completion. They didn't want a settlement. They wanted an eraser. No breach, no termination, no messy employment records. Just clean transitions, like we'd finished white paper projects and moved on to better opportunities. In return, of course, came the strings. Non-disparagement, confidentiality regarding internal discovery, no mention of Scott, no mention of the discretionary ledger, no mention of the clause that blew up their neat little efficiency narrative. I signed. Not because I needed their approval, but because I was already moving on. New office. Different city. Better view. Director of Enterprise Risk Management at Cloud Secure Analytics, a company that actually reads contracts before signing them. My personal settlement was $247,000, my original $159,600 plus interest, penalties, and legal fees. More money than I'd seen in one place since buying my house 15 years ago. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the principle. About 19 years of keeping systems running being worth more than Scott's quarterly performance metrics. The transition was smooth. No exit interview, no desk cleanup drama, no awkward goodbyes. HR processed my departure as a successful consulting engagement conclusion. My access badges worked until my last day. My final paycheck included unused vacation time and a prorated bonus I didn't even know I was eligible for. Glenn Cooper sent a brief email on my last day. "Roy, thank you for your dedication to TechFlow's infrastructure stability. Your contributions have been invaluable. Best wishes in your new role. Professional, clean, no mention of the recent unpleasantness. My first month at Cloud Secure was onboarding with federal compliance officers. Second month, multi-state regulatory coordination. Real work, high stakes, people who understand that attention to detail isn't overhead, it's infrastructure. The difference was immediate. My new boss, Janet Collins, actually read my resume before our first meeting. She knew about the TechFlow cyber breach response, the client retention during regulatory changes, the system migrations I'd managed. When she offered me the position, she said, "We need someone who understands that preventing problems is more valuable than solving them." Scott's name never came up in my interviews, my references, or industry conversations. He was simply gone, maybe reinventing himself at another startup, maybe still trying to explain why his last job ended so abruptly. But in my world, he was erased. 3 months after I left, Wade Stevens called me. We'd stayed in touch after the settlement, the way people do when they've been through something unusual together. "You hear about TechFlow's Q2 numbers?" he asked. I hadn't. "What about them?" "Revenue down 18%. 2 major clients didn't renew. Apparently some compliance issues surfaced during contract reviews." That made sense. Scott's efficiency cuts had probably eliminated more than just retention payments. When you start viewing experience as overhead, you lose the institutional knowledge that keeps things running smoothly. Plus, Wade continued, they hired 3 new senior infrastructure people. Guess they figured out that legacy systems don't manage themselves. I wasn't surprised. TechFlow had learned the hard way that some costs aren't overhead, they're insurance. The same lesson every company learns when they cut too deep and systems start failing. "Oh, and get this," Wade added. Glenn Cooper announced his retirement, moving to an advisory role. Word is the board wasn't happy about the settlement exposure. Change at the top usually follows financial scandals. The CEO who signed off on retention agreements and then let them get embezzled doesn't typically survive the audit cycle. 6 months later, I was presenting at a conference in Denver, keynote on retention compliance in distributed systems. The audience was mostly IT directors and risk managers, people who understood that preventing lawsuits is cheaper than fighting them. During the Q&A, someone asked about best practices for monitoring contractual obligations. I gave the standard answer about automated tracking systems and regular audits. But afterward, a guy approached me privately. "That TechFlow situation last year," he said, nodding. "You were involved in that resolution, weren't you?" I smiled. "Let's just say I believe in honoring contracts." He grinned back. "My company's implementing new retention tracking protocols. We're calling it the Palmer Protocol internally. Professionals understand when you demonstrate that documented agreements matter, other people take notice." My reputation had actually improved after the TechFlow settlement. Other companies saw someone who knew how to protect contractual obligations and wanted that expertise. TechFlow issued a brief statement in their Q3 investor call. Following internal restructuring and leadership transitions, all historical retention obligations have been resolved satisfactorily. The company has implemented enhanced fiscal oversight protocols to ensure full compliance with employment agreements. No details, no names, no acknowledgement that anything had gone wrong. Just corporate speak for "we got caught and fixed it." But insiders noticed. They always do. The ones who survived Scott's efficiency purges, who watched good people get labeled as overhead, who wondered why budget reporting suddenly spiked with a line item for special settlements and compliance restructuring totaling $1.2 million. Someone from finance leaked the figure quietly. No names, just the number. The whispers followed. Lawsuit sealed, vendor dispute, compliance audit gone wrong. But then someone remembered my name, the flash drive, the town hall meeting, and Scott's sudden disappearance. Nobody said it aloud, but the pieces were all there. I didn't need to explain because by then I was building something new. Leading a team that develops automation tools for contract compliance. Systems that scan vendor agreements, flag overlooked contractual triggers, monitor retention clauses, and track payment anomalies in real time. We catch the clauses that make or break companies. I teach young analysts the lesson Scott never learned. If you don't understand the fine print, you become the fine print. If you don't track the flow, you become the liability. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm now paid to prevent exactly what happened to me. Companies hire Cloud Secure to audit their retention agreements, compliance obligations, and payment systems. We find the gaps before they become lawsuits. We catch the Scott Barnes types before they can cause damage. Last month, a mid-sized tech company in Austin brought us in for a full contract audit. Their new operations director had been making efficiency cuts, questioning legacy agreements, pushing for streamlined processes. Sound familiar? We want to make sure all our contractual obligations are properly tracked, their CEO told me during the kickoff meeting. We've heard about situations where retention payments got misrouted, and frankly, we can't afford that kind of exposure. I didn't ask if they'd heard about TechFlow specifically. Professional reputation travels fast in our industry, especially when it involves seven-figure settlement amounts. Our audit found 3 retention agreements that weren't being properly tracked. Nothing fraudulent, just sloppy oversight. The kind of gaps that become problems when someone starts looking for easy cuts. We help them implement automated monitoring systems and clear approval chains. Problem solved before it became a crisis. Sometimes a client asks if we work with TechFlow solutions. I smile and say we're vendor neutral, then change the subject. Because they wrote my silence into the settlement agreement, and I honor contracts, but the real satisfaction isn't in the money or the new job title. It's in the validation. For 19 years, I did my job perfectly and nobody noticed. I prevented problems, maintained systems, kept clients happy, and all I got was invisibility. Then Scott tried to make me the punchline of his efficiency theater, and suddenly, everyone could see exactly what my work was worth. The flash drive is still in my desk drawer, labeled in black ink. Proof, not from bitterness, not for revenge, just preservation. Because in this business, you never know when someone will look at your value, your work, your 19 years of keeping their systems running, and decide they can rewrite your worth on a budget line and call it optimization. 2 years later, Wade Stevens joined my team at Cloud Secure. He'd gotten tired of wondering when the next Scott Barnes would show up at his company. Better to be on the prevention side, he told me during his interview. I've seen what happens when contracts get ignored. Keith Murphy and Dean Wright both found positions at companies that actually value institutional knowledge. We stay in touch, the way people do when they've shared an unusual experience. None of us talk about the settlement details. NDAs prevent that, but we don't need to. We all know what it's like to have your contributions dismissed until someone needs to calculate their true value. The tech industry moves fast, but word travels faster, especially when it involves systematic fraud and million-dollar settlements. I've had 3 job offers in the past year, all from companies that want someone who understands the importance of contractual compliance and employee retention. My kids are proud of me now in a way they weren't before. Not because of the money, but because I stood up for myself. My son, finishing his engineering degree, told his friends about his dad who exposed corporate fraud and got a huge settlement. He made it sound more dramatic than it was, but I didn't correct him. My daughter, in her 2nd year of pre-med, said it best. You taught that guy that stealing from smart people is really stupid. She's not wrong. The settlement money helped with their tuition bills, but more importantly, it showed them that quiet competence and careful documentation can be more powerful than loud confrontation. That sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their own actions. Glenn Cooper sent me a LinkedIn connection request last month. His profile now lists him as strategic advisor instead of CEO. The message was brief. Roy, hope you're well in your new role. Would love to catch up sometime. I accepted the connection but didn't respond to the message. What would we talk about? How his signature on a retention agreement nearly cost his company $1 million. How his hand-picked operations director turned out to be embezzling from senior employees. How 19 years of loyalty got dismissed as budget overhead.
Some conversations aren't worth having. Scott Barnes, on the other hand, seems to have vanished from professional social media entirely.
His LinkedIn profile was deactivated sometime last year. His Twitter account went dark. Either he's reinventing himself with a new identity, or he's learned that fraud convictions make networking complicated. The industry is small enough that his name occasionally comes up in conversation, usually in the context of due diligence failures or operational oversight gaps. He's become a cautionary tale, the guy who thought he was smarter than 19 years of institutional knowledge and ended up costing everyone millions. That's his legacy now. Mine is different. I'm the guy who documented everything, stayed calm under pressure, and turned a public humiliation into a professional vindication. I'm the one who proved that experience matters, that attention to detail has value, and that sometimes the quiet person in the corner is the most dangerous person in the room. Not because I wanted to hurt anyone, but because I knew exactly how to protect myself. In this business, you never know when someone will look at you, your value, your work, and decide they can mock it publicly while stealing from you privately. And when they do, you better be holding the documentation. You better have the paper trail. You better know exactly when to stand up in a room full of smirks and say, with all the calm in the world, "What money, sir?" Then let the silence do the work. Because in this business, you never know when someone will look at your value, your work, your 19 years of keeping their systems running, and decide they can rewrite your worth on a budget line and call it optimization. And when they do, you better be holding the documentation. You better have the paper trail. You better know exactly when to stand up in a room full of smirks and say, with all the calm in the world, "What money, sir?" Then let the silence do the work.